Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk the episodes 2 of both Survivor 49 and The Amazing Race 38, two of our favorite shows. I'm very excited to talk about both of them. Molly, are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Well, let's start with Survivor. So, after Nicole was sadly the first to be voted off, Annie decides the next day that she wants Jake out next time they go to Tribal. And she tells Alex and Sophie about this plan. Neither of them are really on board. They're telling her what she wants to hear, but they're not really on board with this because they're aligned closely with Jake and they're not really wanting to go through with this. But Molly, if you were in Annie's position, is Jake the right target for her, or do you think that he is too beneficial potentially for physical challenges, that he's too important to lose at this point early on?
Yeah, I don't think Jake's the right person for Andy to go after. I feel like at this point, obviously, like they keep on losing the challenges here and they want to try to win at least. And with Jake, like at least they have an opportunity to try to continue to do decent in these challenges. So I think keeping Jake would be smarter here, but I feel like I don't really know who else she should go after, but just not Jake.
Yeah, I think that, in this modern era of Survivor, physicality and helping in challenges isn't as beneficial as it used to be. I feel like people now, like, especially they're such fans of the show, they're like, I know how to do the important things. I studied this before I went out there. Like, we're good. We don't need you to teach us how to do all this basic survival stuff. And so I feel like people are more likely to target somebody like Jake early on than they used to be. But I still do think with a disaster tribe like this, keeping someone like Jake around probably isn't going to hurt you in the challenges. So I think that, for someone like Annie, who probably is the biggest liability for challenges, maybe she should just kind of go all out and, do what she thinks is best for her game, barring, any sort of that. But yeah, I don't blame Alex and Sophie necessarily for just kind of appeasing Annie here, but really thinking that, yeah, we're going to go with Jake.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's how they had to have those conversations with her.
Yeah. Well, everyone is pretty annoyed with Annie, anyways, because they feel like she is bossing them around. She thinks that she is the queen bee on this tribe, and they are not having any of it. So, Jake in particular gets very annoyed with Annie and decides to repeat his shoe bandit ways that we saw in the premiere, and he hides her left shoe. So, just like he did with Nicole, and Annie is not happy. They're starting to notice a pattern here. So, do you think that this is something that will be kind of a season long thing for Jake, this shoe bandit? Or is this something that maybe later on, as the $1 million gets closer and things get a little more serious, that he'll kind of cut it out?
Yeah, I feel like for all of our sake, he's gonna cut it out. But I feel like in general, like this isn't great. He just wants to be seen on our screens, and I think that's his way of making sure he gets some screen time, but it's not really doing anything. It's actually probably could be hurting his game rather than helping his game. So I feel like with that, like it's just not good for him to continue doing it, especially if he got to merge and he did it with other tribes, like then it's obviously like if there's only a few people from a certain tribe and that happened to them on their tribe at the beginning, they would obviously be able to narrow that down and be like, okay, well, Jake did, or someone did this, like who of these people left on that tribe, like seems to be likely to do this and probably could narrow it down to be Jake as their guess. So I feel like with that, like it's not a great move.
Yeah, I agree. I think that things like this are going to become less important for him, and he's going to fully be focusing just on the game and on his alliances and not so much on trying to get TV time. Well, then Alex finds the Beware advantage. While he is on an idol hunt with Jake, advantages and idols didn't come up in the premiere at all, really. But now in episode 2, we're starting to get a hint of them, and he decides to go for it with the Beware advantage. He reads the note saying that he will get the instructions to find the idol after their tribe loses a future immunity challenge. So this is a new thing. And I actually really like this. I think that it gives this pressure because when Jake is on, just has a few hours after they lose an immunity challenge until they go to tribal that same night in order to find this idol, or he doesn't have a vote. And so I kind of like this because I think that in the event that the vote is just kind of an easy vote, there is some intrigue there of, is he going to find this in time, or is he going to lose his vote in a tribe of only 5 people where every vote counts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like giving it more stakes on the idol just already is good to see because you don't want to just have it be so easy to be able to get those advantages in the game. So I think with that, like it made sense that they added this twist this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, look, I don't love the whole like everybody loses their votes every episode, but I did think that at least, with the Beware advantage, he has that opportunity to get it back. So I at least appreciate that, and I think that I don't love when idols are so easy to find, easy to get, and so I like this version of it where it gives him, and we'll get into more of the details of what exactly he had to do, but it certainly wasn't a given that he was going to get this idol, and so I do definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's get to the Yuli tribe. So we don't see much of them in this episode, or the Hina tribe, really. But we do see that Nate, Rizzo, Shannon, and Savannah have officially agreed to work together. So we saw the beginnings of this in the last episode, and now they are an official alliance here. So they decide to target Jawan over Sage first when they have to go to tribal eventually, because they feel like Jawan is sneakier, Sage is less strategic. They feel like they can more easily influence her to do whatever they want, and that Jawan has shown a lot more game sense. So, do you agree with this decision for them, or would it have been smarter for them to target Sage?
Yeah, I agree that Jawan is being sneakier. Like, obviously, he's already looking for things or trying to do the most he can in Survivor already because he's been such a big fan. I think he's so excited to be there and just to be part of this experience that he's trying to play the best game that he can. And so, with that, like, obviously someone who's playing a good game, you'd want to get out if you can, because then they could backstab you or whatever. Like they could turn on you versus Sage is probably is less likely to do that. So with that, I feel like it makes sense, but I like Jawan, so I'm hoping that this doesn't actually happen, but we'll have to see when if they go to tribal.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw Jawan make some not great decisions or mistakes. I guess I don't think they were intentional, but like he took Savannah's
Yeah.
bag and used it to put a lot of like leaves and sticks and things. And Savannah apparently really doesn't like bugs, and so that wasn't intentional. He did not. I don't think he meant to take her bag, but it certainly wasn't a great look for him in Savannah's eyes, at the very least. And yeah, I think that, it seemed like they all were very on to Jawan in terms of the fact that he is just, looking for idols, looking for advantages, doing sneaky stuff, and certainly did not work to his advantage in terms of the four of them deciding to target him first. Well, then we go to the Hina tribe for just a hot minute. But Matt, Steven, and Christina, we find out, are working together as an alliance, and they want to bring an MC as their fourth. So Matt goes to talk to MC, and during this conversation, he makes it very clear that MC is going to be their fourth. They already have an existing alliance, and they are bringing MC into this already existing alliance. And I, this strategy did not seem to go over so well for MC. But Molly, what did you think of the way that Matt handled this conversation with her?
Yeah, it was definitely not the right way to go about it because him saying that they're already a strong three and they want to bring her in as the fourth, this isn't gonna feel right for MC. She's already gonna feel like she's on the outs of that. And then in turn, probably want to then target them, which he does then go talk to other people saying, like, okay, yeah, like these people are all together. Like, what do we do about it? Like, then it just puts the opposite target that he was expecting to happen. So I think with that, Matt like just did the wrong thing there. I think he should have not mentioned it in the way that she's coming on as a fourth, and he should have just said like, "Oh, like I'm thinking about working with these people, like, and do you like them? Like, it'd be great to all have us four together, and then go and talk to them all together." So it seems like it's more of her idea as well. instead of the way he did it, where it's just like, all right, here you go, this is the plan, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. You always want to make somebody, when you are forming an alliance with them, you want to make them feel like they are a part of that process of making the alliance, and not just somebody you're bringing in later on, because that person will always know that they're going to be in the bottom, that you're going to be, more loyal to the people who you've been with longer. And yeah, I think doing it this way was a huge rookie mistake for Matt. So I think absolutely this will come back to bite him, because MC already saying that, of those three, of Matt, Steven, and Christina, she likes Steven. So if MC is looking to target somebody in that group, Steven's not going to be that person. It's going to probably be Matt or maybe Christina. So it's not looking too good. I think that that's a pretty big mistake for Matt, but we will find out soon. But
Yes.
she does tell Sophie that those three were wanting to target her, but that she's not a part of that. She wants to work with her. So I think that we're already starting to see the people kind of not going along with the three of them, and it could potentially be like a 3-3 on that tribe, which could be very interesting. But we haven't seen a lot of them yet, so hopefully in the next couple weeks we will see a week when Kelly does not go to tribal, and we'll get more of a sense of their dynamics, but not today. So
Yep.
let's go on to the journey. So, one person from each tribe: Jawan for the red tribe, Uli; Jake for the blue tribe, Kelly; and Matt for Hina, the yellow tribe, go on a journey. And they each have a hanging net bucket and a stack of coconuts. They must fill the other two nets before theirs is filled. And the last person to have their net standing wins a power. It's a mystery power. We don't know what it is, but at the time, but this was an interesting journey, a very different type of journey, I think, than we've seen in the past. What did you think of this
Yeah.
version of it?
I liked it. I thought it was fun that it was actually them competing with each other, or like kind of competing because they all had to just basically just do the whoever they wanted out, throw them in their own the bucket choice or the net choice of who they wanted. So it wasn't even like they had to get theirs fastest, they had to get to someone else's fastest to drop. So that was an interesting choice in way that this challenge actually worked. And I feel like with that, like it kind of made it exciting to see like, oh, so who's gonna end up with theirs handing the longest. And it also like ended up being really close with that too. Like I was like, oh, like this is actually like they're going between all of these, like this was a close one here. So it made it for a fun watch.
Yeah, I think my only confusion with this was that it really felt like there was no rhyme or reason to why any of them were putting coconuts in any of their baskets. Like I feel like I wish that we would have, and I don't know, maybe it just didn't exist, but like I kind of wish we would have maybe seen like some sort of like two of them teaming up to say like, okay, we'll both put the coconuts in so and so's basket first and get them out, and then
Yeah.
best of luck for the last two. But like because we didn't see that, I was just like, okay, why, what, I don't know what's happening really. Like it felt kind of like just random, of okay, I guess it could be any of them for any reason could win this. So that was kind of my only complaint. But otherwise, and maybe there just wasn't, maybe they were all three just kind of like trying to split evenly between the other two to not seem like they were targeting anyone in particular. So yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, I what I liked about this was that it at the very least it wasn't just luck. Like it wasn't like that
Yeah.
one we saw last season with the dice. Or like
Yeah.
at least there was something to watch, and some like, okay, the person who wins this, it's not like the last place person automatically just loses their vote. Like it seems, so the person who wins this, which we see is Jawan, and he actually has a choice to make. So I really liked this, because now it's like, okay, now you're not just automatically making somebody lose their vote, you're actually rewarding somebody who wins and giving them a choice, so that there could be some gameplay ramifications here, and there's an interesting, like, you're putting the power back in the player's hands. And I just think this is what the journey should have always been. I don't think there would have been as many complaints as we have had. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that they are taking a huge step in the right direction with these journeys with this, and I hope that all of the rest of them are more like this.
I agree. I'm glad that no one ended up losing their vote out of this one. So that was great to see.
Yeah, and it could have someone could have lost a vote, but they did not. So the
Yeah.
choice that he is given is help yourself by stealing the vote of either Jake or Matt, his two competitors here, or help your tribe by being able to give one of the other two tribes a disadvantage at the next immunity challenge. So, what in Jawan's position, which of those would you have chosen?
I think I would have done the tribe one because at that point, like, you don't really know those other players that well, and like you don't want to put a target on your back that you went after one of them. And with that, like obviously, like so early on in the game, like you don't know if you're gonna make it to merge or whatnot, and like what's gonna happen there. And tribe also just goes back to the tribe. He's already feeling the bottom. Like he can also then get some brownie points with his tribe and be like, well, I chose this one instead of the individual one. So that also helps him.
And he did. It seemed
Yeah.
like when he went back and he told them about that, we see a confessional from Savannah being like, "Well, maybe you bought yourself a few more days here by making that
Yeah.
decision and winning this for the tribe." So I think it certainly did seem, and it may not. He might still be the first to go when as soon as they lose, but it might have just been like a very in the moment thing of them being happy. But I certainly think it didn't hurt him by making that choice. And I agree. If he's already on the bottom, like one more vote isn't gonna, be enough to help you out. So I think absolutely he made the right choice here. And I wonder though if he made the right decision in terms of which tribe he chose to give a disadvantage. Because
Yes.
at the immunity challenge, he decides to give that disadvantage to Hina, the yellow tribe, because he believes that it's the most fair, given that Kelly has been going through a lot already and had a hard time these first few days. So, do you think he made the right choice there?
I mean, going into the challenge, I thought so. The results of the challenge, now I'm like, well, maybe not. But I feel like because Hina is so strong of a tribe, they're still all there as well. Like, I think that made the most sense for Jawan to go after them instead of Kelly, since they are one person down at this point and just kept losing. So he didn't want to keep on adding to the bad news.
Yeah. I think that hmm, I don't know. I've gone back and forth with this a lot, actually. I think that originally I did think he made the right decision. Now I don't think he did. Because the more that, like, and this might be other people's opinions getting in my head, just, other recaps and things that I've heard in the a few days since then. But I think the problem is that now he has six people mad at him. And like,
Yeah.
going into the merge, like, they don't have any other reason to target anyone else potentially unless there's a swap. But otherwise, like there's so little that they have to go off of. And I just think like any little thing, it's like, well, he gave us a disadvantage at that immunity challenge, so let's target him first. I just think like you don't want to give a lot of people a reason at the merge to target you if the six of them are all there, which very possible. So that I think, and it's just like, Kelly's already probably going to lose this if you give them the disadvantage, especially. So I just think like just all you have to do is not be last in this immunity. And giving Kelly this disadvantage would have in a lot of ways really guaranteed they lose. And I think that maybe for like just self-preservation, I know it sucks for Kelly, it really does, but I might have just kind of gone with that.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like looking at it for like the post-merge of it, like it does make sense to probably just gone for the weaker tribe.
Yeah. So Kelly does lose this immunity challenge again. Now, their disadvantage was that they had to run the challenge with 20 pounds of coconuts on their back, as well as having 10 possible keys to open a lock at a certain point in the challenge, while the other tribes only had one. Now that didn't seem to be a huge deal for Hina. It seemed like they, didn't weren't too disadvantaged by that, but Kelly was still in the lead for the physical part of this challenge. They had a huge lead going into the puzzle, and then they just completely blew the puzzle. They couldn't get one piece in the right place. And watching this, to me, all I could get through my mind was just, what would this have been like if they didn't give these, like, no supplies to the losing tribes, then, and
Mhm.
no flint, no pots, no machete, no all this stuff, and they're just exhausted. And not only are they, had to go to tribal the night before, and were having to really stress out and use a lot of just kind of brain power and stress on that,
Yeah.
but then also not being able to have all these supplies to make life a little bit easier at camp. And they just seem to have such, like, they, and we saw Sophie later, like, just she couldn't form a sentence, basically, she was so tired. And I just, like, I
Yeah.
wonder, in this new era, with we so often see these disaster tribes, if they were to just give everybody the same supplies. Yes, they maybe don't have that underdog story that they love, and but is it worth it to just see the same tribe going into tribal over and over again? Would it make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah, you could definitely see the fatigue in all of their faces and just how they're not feeling great. Obviously, they don't have much food and sleep, and all that's going to have a big factor in how they can think properly. So, with that, like a puzzle obviously creates, like, has more brain power needed to that. So, I think with that, it's obviously a disadvantage for that part. And it's also crazy how much of a lead that they had that they blew at that point.
Yeah, yeah, no, it just, like, I can't fathom the fact that they would have been so bad at that puzzle if they had just a little bit more to work with at camp. Like, I just can't imagine they would be that bad. But who knows? It's just like, do they just have 5 people that are really bad at puzzles? Like, it's possible. I don't know. But I guess we will never know. But back at camp after Kelly loses that immunity, Annie immediately changes her mind. So she had been all gung ho on getting Jake out, and now she has decided that she wants to get Sophie out based on her challenge performance. And again, everyone else is just kind of telling her what she wants to hear, it seems like. There's not a whole lot of intrigue, honestly, in my opinion, at least going into tribal here. It just feels like everybody's telling Annie what she wants to hear, and Annie is somehow totally eating it up, thinking she's controlling that tribe, and whatever she wants to do is going to happen.
Yeah, I felt bad for Annie here because she seems to be trying, but it's just not going over well with the rest of the tribe, and they just don't want to work with her. And so it was kind of just, I feel like it was just done. At that point, like it was expected it was going to be Annie, especially with how they were setting it up in the beginning of how everyone was annoyed with her. And then when they were going to tribal, I was like, oh, it has to be Annie here.
Yeah. Well, the one piece of intrigue is if Alex is going to find his
True.
idol. So he gets his clue, and he digs up right at a tree mail a ball and chain, and is given a map. And there is a key attached to that chain that he has to use to unlock the idol. So he has to carry that chain with him all across camp in order to get it. And Jake and Sophie help him out and carry it. Sophie actually finds the box first, but does not tell the others so that she can hopefully come back to it later and get that idol for herself. What did you think of that move by Sophie to keep that a little secret for as long as she could?
I thought it was smart in the moment. I was like, oh yeah, like Sophie can just come back and find it. But then if they had found that out that she was purposely keeping that from them, then that would put distrust in their minds of like, oh well, we can't trust Sophie as she wasn't trying to help us out either. So I think it all worked out okay. Obviously, like they found it before Sophie was able to get back. Or they before it was just not it was found. So it wasn't an issue there from in terms of Sophie thinking she could keep it to herself. But I don't know. I feel like I would have maybe done the same thing. Like I would be like, well, actually, I could be selfish now. Like maybe I should just keep this to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty smart move because
Yeah.
nobody saw her find it, and so
Yeah.
she could either, like, one or two things happens. It's like, okay, either you they don't find it and you're able to get it to yourself, and now you have a secret idol that nobody knows about. Or they Alex or Jake find it, and then they find it and everything's the same as it would have been if she hadn't found it in the first place before they did. So I think either way it's
Yeah.
a win-win. So I agree. I think that that was a smart move for her. But then Jeremiah walks up while they are doing this, and I thought it was interesting that they didn't inform him of their search beforehand. So it seems like Jeremiah is at the bottom of that foursome that they have, which I don't know that I fully realized until that moment when the three of them went to look for that idol and did all that without him there. But they do, he walks up and they do include him in it. So they're not completely hiding that from him, but I thought that was interesting in terms of kind of informing us of the hierarchy there.
Yeah, for sure. Because the three of them just seem to be stronger than without like Jeremiah just is on the bottom there for sure.
Yeah. Well, then Alex does find the idol, so he has his vote back. And what was interesting is that he ends up showing that idol to Annie.
Yeah.
And he says, at least to us, so that he is considering potentially actually going with Annie, using his idol and making a move to get out Sophie here. Do you think this is something that he was really ever actually considering, or is he kind of just trying to add a little intrigue?
Yeah, I don't think it would have worked out. I think it's just like at the end of the day, like his alliance was stronger than his alliance there with Annie, and he didn't want to have then anyone to distrust him in the end. Like if this didn't work out, and trying to do a blindside the other direction. So I think he just had to stick with the rest, the majority there, and get out Annie. But I think it would made for some good TV in a way of like thinking, oh, is something gonna happen here? But then nothing did.
Yeah. Well, at Tribal, Annie is voted out in a vote of 4-1, and she's blindsided. She really, all the way up until that point, did not have any clue that she was going to be the target here. So, hats off to everybody else, I guess, for being good actors. Two blindsides in a row. So, I feel like people aren't super high so far in Survivor 49, but two for two in terms of blindsides.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised that she was surprised to see that her name was kept on being written down there because it seemed pretty clear from our perspective that she was on the outs of the tribe. But I guess she maybe had more trust in Alex that he was gonna vote with her, and then that would help to then make it in a different direction. But I think without Alex, like she just didn't have any right, any of it, any reason to think she would be safe.
Yeah. Well, that is it, I think, for Survivor episode 2. But let's move on to The Amazing Race. So, I really loved this episode of Amazing Race. I think that the premiere to me was like, it was really fun because we obviously knew these teams and it was exciting to see the Big Brother house guests back. But I think it was kind of a weird editing. I didn't feel like, we totally got to know a lot of them very well. We were really focused on just a few teams. I thought that this episode was great in the sense that there was a lot happening, and I felt like it was really exciting. And I thought that we got to see a little bit more from some of the other teams. So I really enjoyed this one. What did you think?
Yeah, I did as well. I feel like it was back to our normal editing of an episode of not just starting out with some challenge and you're like, wait, what's happening here? So also I think it was fun to see people like scrambling for trains and that side of it of like I feel like we've obviously like COVID times like that stopped the ability to book stuff on your own. And so now we're getting that back again as well. I mean, we've had that in recent seasons, but like seeing that again and like
Yeah.
continuing that trajectory of going back to those ways was exciting to see that also.
Yeah, it is. We're starting to really see the difference here in this season of
Yeah.
Amazing Race versus a standard season of Amazing Race, where there's a lot of flight drama and a lot of
Yeah.
airport shenanigans. Here, it's a lot of train. We kind of replaced the airplanes with the trains, and I'm all for it actually because I think that the thing with flights is that there's not a ton of like if you miss a flight, then it could be you could make yourself hours behind. And yes, the
Mhm.
stakes are higher, but then it's kind of like, okay, well, we know that the other tribes, the other teams aren't going to like, be 4 hours behind. Like you're not going to probably catch up. So then you just kind of know who's going home, or like one of, maybe two or three teams if there's more than one on the second flight. But here, there's trains that go like, 30 minutes later, an hour later, whatever. And so it's like, oh, okay, there's actual chance for the teams that are in the back to catch up to the teams in the front if they just happen to take longer to do certain challenges. So I really kind of like this because I feel like we're going to see more fluctuation in terms of the standings and
Yeah.
more ability for the teams on the bottom to eventually by the end of leg catch up. So I'm really excited. I'm all for it.
Yeah, same here. And yeah, there's so many variations of the combinations how you can get there, which has a say in this episode too.
Yeah. And so I've seen people talk about this before. This is not an original thought here, but I am also a big fan of Jet Lag, the game on YouTube, which is a
Uh,
show, travel show, competition kind of thing on YouTube, and where it's three guys that do different sorts of games. They say it's like they play tag across Europe or hide and seek across Japan, or they're playing little games like this, and they do it all on public transportation. And so on that show, we've seen in the past when they have been in Germany that the trains in Germany are often delayed, often canceled, and it's caused a lot of mayhem on that show. And so coming in and seeing it again here, it's like, oh, okay, I know I've seen this before, but it's
yeah.
very very fun. So I was happy to see more of that here because it made for a very exciting leg. So let's get into it. We see the 12 remaining teams start the leg by taking a train from Amsterdam to Prague. We see that there's kind of three trains, and it's Hannah and Simone, Joseph and Adam, Jag and Jas, Izzy and Paige, Natalie and Stephanie, Tucker and Eric, Chelsea and Jack, and Rubina and Christine are all on the first train that goes through Berlin. And then Angela and Lexi, Taylor, Kyland, Kat, and Alex are all on the next train that leaves a little later and goes through Frankfurt, but still gets into Prague at the same time as the earlier train. And then Megan and Turner are all by themselves on the last train that goes through Regensburg and gets to Prague at the latest time. So we see that I thought it was very interesting that the first two trains, basically all the teams are getting to Prague at the same time originally, barring
Yeah.
any cancellations and delays. So that I thought that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. No, it seemed to be then pretty even across all the teams.
Yeah, but then there's a lot of mayhem because the teams on the first train all get off on the wrong Berlin station. So they were supposed to get off on Berlin Jessenbruden? I don't know how to pronounce that, but they ended up getting on one stop too early. They all got off on Berlin Spandau. So they missed their next train because of that, and there was all this mayhem because they're like, "Where are we supposed to go? Where are we?" And then I think it was Paige was the first one to realize, I think we got off on the wrong stop.
Yeah. I know that's a little scary because you're in a different country, you don't know the language there. And I mean, Germans speak a lot of English, so I feel like with that, like it can help. But in general, like it's obviously not where you want to be.
Yeah, nope, nope, nope. So there was a very smart plan though that so Joseph and Adam, Natalie and Stephanie and Jas, they were able to find tickets for a direct train to Prague that actually got there over an hour earlier than their original tickets even did. So this kind of ended up being a blessing in disguise for them. But I
Yeah.
felt so bad that Izzy and Paige, or Paige really, who was the first one to figure out that they were on the wrong train in the first place, wasn't a part of that. And they ended up, the other teams all ended up kind of getting back on track. They were able to get their original train schedule, and they didn't end up losing any time there, but they weren't able to get there faster. So they actually ended up going from kind of the group first team to the second group of teams that got into Prague.
Yeah, I know. I was sad to see that Izzy and Paige weren't in that direct train there, but I feel like it had to be one team to be left behind.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I really like about this, is that I feel like there's so many options of trains, that there's all these,
Mhm.
like, when you have time, it's like, oh wait, there's this plan, and there's, oh no, there's this option, and this one gets in a little earlier and later, and it's like, you think you're doing a great thing, and then it ends up that things are delayed or whatever, and then you end up falling way in the back. So I think it's interesting to see all these teams, kind of working through this and figuring out, oh wait, this plan actually gets there a little bit earlier, and this one goes through this place, and it's very complex, but it's, I think,
Mhm.
very very interesting to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. They have so many different train lines in Europe, so that made for it more exciting.
Yes. Well, the teams on the second train actually had their Frankfurt train canceled. So they were able to get on another train that got there an hour later. But this allowed Megan and Turner to catch up with them. Now, Megan and Turner, they seem to just kind of be doing their own thing. Like, they had no issues. Everything was on time for them. And so it ended up working out that they went from being the one team way in the back to catching up with a lot of the teams that were on that second train. So it really was anyone's game at this point.
Yeah.
But once they got to Prague, or their first teams got to Prague, Joseph and Adam, Natalie and Stephanie, and Jag and Jazz, they faced their first roadblock. So one team member had to walk across a plank 255 feet above ground on the Zizkov television tower to get the clue that was dangling below them. Now, as you know, Molly, I am terrified of heights.
Oh yeah.
I would not have been okay doing this. No, just eliminate me. Just, whatever you need to do. Sorry. I'm not doing that. So, would you have done it though?
Yes, I do. I don't mind heights, and especially because I would be roped in to it. Like I would be scared just because it's like a narrow platform that I would slip and like my balance, I wouldn't totally love that, but I would be able to do it. Like I wouldn't be freaking out. I would just be like, don't look down, just like get to the end, get the clue, and get back.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not. There's no amount of money in the world, I don't think, that would be worth me doing that. Like, I think I would want to. Like, I think if it was important enough, I think I would try to. I think I could get up there and like just really tell myself, like, okay, you can do this. You're okay. You're strapped onto this thing. I just don't think my feet would let me do it. I can't imagine that, like, I would actually be able to get myself. I think I would faint. Like, I just don't know that I could actually do it. But I admire every team that, because everyone did it. Every team
Yeah.
got through it, and none of them like took a penalty or anything. So more, I respect them immensely for doing that. And we saw a couple of them struggle with it. We saw Adam struggle with it a little bit. And apparently there was more behind the scenes, that where Joseph was really telling Adam, like, no, you do not have to do this, I'll do it, like, and then Adam was kind of insisting on doing it. But yeah, I that seemed very very scary to me. But then after that, they got to their first detour. The choices are: remember the chair or handle with care. So remember the chair, teams have to memorize 11 village crests and search a dining hall for the chairs showing those crests. The chairs will show the names of them, and they must memorize the names to and recite them correctly to get their clue. And handle with care, teams must deliver 48 Bohemian glasses to 3 vendors that are all the right color combinations, and they have to locate those 3 vendors, which seem to be a little tricky for some of the teams. And once they do that and give them to all of the vendors, then they will get their next clue there. So, which would you have picked if given those options?
I think handle with care seems more straightforward here just because anything with pronunciations and memorization, like that's already a lot harder than just like bringing something somewhere. So I think I would choose the handle with care for that reason, just because less to be worried about getting wrong.
Yeah, I think that I would, if I was on a team and kind of we were working alone, basically, I think I would choose handle with care for sure, because it's just too much to memorize with the other one. But I think that if I'm working with a bunch of other teams and we can kind of all like, okay, you memorize two of them, you find two of these names, and then we'll find two of them, and then you kind of split up the work there, and then you all come back together and share what you found and the right names and crests and whatever. Then maybe you can get through that quicker. So I think it just kind of depends on the situation, but all in all, Handle with Care to me seemed easier, just in the sense that I feel like we saw so many of the teams on Remember the Chair go through it so many times and have
Yeah,
two of them wrong, one of them wrong, whatever. And with Handle with Care, I don't think that we saw the teams really struggle too much with that. So I don't know in terms of like how long doing everything correctly on Handle with Care takes versus how long they were taking on Remember the Chair with all the mistakes. I don't know, but it seemed like Handle with Care was probably the easier one.
agreed.
Well, something funny that happened was that Tucker and Eric actually stumbled across the pit stop clue before doing the detour. They just completely missed the detour and ended up at the pit stop in fourth place before Phil told them that they needed to do the detour first, go back, and then he could check them in. So somehow they actually found the detour, did it, went to go get ice cream on the way back, and still made it in fourth place.
That was
How did
crazy.
that happen?
I don't know. I mean, as we saw, like Rubina was like, "Oh, Tucker has such good memory." Like, I feel like, or Chelsea said that. Chelsea said he has such good memory that like he's gonna crush this, and then obviously he did. And with that, also seeing them come back with their ice cream, I was like, "What? Like, I want some ice cream now." Like watching
I
that, I was
know.
like,
I
"That
thought of you
that's
when I
fun."
saw that. I was like, "Oh my god, Molly would be so jealous."
Yeah, I know. I'm impressed. It was
Yeah.
great.
Well, the pit stop placements overall are Jazz and Jag in first place, Joseph and Adam in second, Natalie and Stephanie in third. No surprise there. Those were the three teams that got to Prague first. It seemed like they went through the detour and the roadblock like they were way ahead of the other teams. So it seemed like the
Yeah,
three of them, just there was no chance that they were going to fall behind.
yeah.
Then we got Tucker and Eric, Hannah and Simone, Izzy and Paige, Jack and Chelsea, Christina and Rubina. They kind of seem to be another cluster of teams that all kind of got there around the same time. And then we got Kylan and Taylor, Kat and Alex, Megan and Turner. And then, unfortunately, Lexi and Angela were in last place. It seemed pretty close between Megan and Turner and Angela and Lexi, but unfortunately, Megan and Turner were able to get there first. And I'm so sad that we lost Angela this early on.
I know, me too. I miss seeing her on the screens already. I feel like I mean, obviously Turner and Megan are also fun to watch, but Angela's just fun on a different level, so I'm sad that she's gone already.
Yeah, it seemed like there's just so much potential there. Like I really wanted them to be there for some sort of like gameplay twist where they had to like vote on a U-turn or something like that, because you know that Angela, for at least if the BB-26ers are still there, Angela might be the target of something like that, and I feel like she would not take that well, and it would have been very entertaining to watch. But no, I'm glad. Look, I'm glad we got her for at least two episodes here. They were fun to watch. I think Lexi had a lot of potential too to be pretty entertaining, and I liked to see their dynamic. So very sad to see them leave here so early, but the show must go on.
Yes, exactly. We still have some really exciting teams to watch, so I think there's still fun times to happen in Amazing Race.
Yes, and who knows? Maybe Angela could be our first CBS reality trifecta participant and get on Survivor at some point here. I know that she's been saying that's her next goal. That's what she wants to do. So, Jeff, are you listening?
Please, we want to see Angela on Survivor. That would be amazing.
Yes, we do. All right. Well, I think unless I missed anything else major here, I think that we are good on the Amazing Race, and we will. It'll be a few weeks, I think, before we check back in on the Amazing Race because we have so many more shows to cover with Love Island Games that we just ended that we will be covering next week, as well as Love Is Blind new season just started. So we
Yes.
have that to cover in the near future as well of course, more Survivor 49. and a lot else coming up our way. So stay tuned for all of that. And thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week and we will hope you join us. So be sure to follow us at Let's Chat Reality on all social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we will chat with you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.